Welcome, welcome, folks. Thank you for joining us today. We are excited for an amazing webinar we've got prepared for y'all. This is part 2 of our hands-on ACE webinar. We are going to be diving even deeper into how to automate your Domo environment audit and cleanup. Very exciting and important stuff, okay? Now, we're gonna give a few more minutes to get people in here. So I have a little icebreaker question I wanted to ask, okay? And now this one's important, okay? I wanna know what your celebrity crush is, okay? Celebrity crushes in here. Drop it in the chat. I wanna know who your celebrity crush is. And if you have a reason why, explain why. Steven Yeun. I love it. I love it, Levi. Very good. Very good. My personal favorite, I grew up watching Star Wars. And so Natalie Portman was always my celebrity crush. Brad Pitt forever. I love it. Steven Yeun is an amazing actor. And yes, quite handsome. I would have to agree. Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you, Levi. Thank you. Any other? Ooh, Cillian Murphy. That's a great choice as well. Great choice. He was great in Oppenheimer. Gotta love Cillian Murphy. Colin Firth. I don't know who that is. Gwen Stefani. Wow. Wonderful. Wonderful. If you're just joining us, icebreaker question is, who's your celebrity crush? Bridget Jones' Diary. All right. All right. Well, now let's get into it, folks. Let's get into it, okay? We are joining with us today is Lindsay. How are we doing today, Lindsay?
Great. I am just seeing some comments where people weren't able to access the link that I had just shared with you. So I am grabbing those links again.
Okay.
Looks like I shared.
While you're grabbing those links, I have a few other things that I want to go over. First off, we have a great opportunity. If you're looking to grab some extra cash, $25 if you complete a G2 review. Just scan the QR code right over there in the top right corner, and you should be taken to a G2 where you can fill out a review for Domo. And if it's approved, G2 will send you a $25 gift card. So I'll give you guys a few minutes to scan that QR code. It's a little grainy there, so if you need to zoom up or enlarge your screen so that you can scan the QR code, go for it. But yeah, that's a great opportunity if you want to earn a little bit extra cash. We also have Domopalooza coming up, if you didn't know. And this is going to be one of our biggest conferences yet to be. So you for sure don't want to miss the opportunity to join us this year at Domopalooza. I'm going to throw up another QR code that you can scan. This one will take you to Domopalooza registration so that you can join us for the most amazing AI and data conference that you'll ever experience. So feel free to scan that QR code, and we'll look forward to seeing you there. Come say hi to me because I'll be over at the community booth. And also, folks, just so you're aware, this is part 2 to our webinar for the audit and cleanup series specifically. Lindsay graciously gave us her time last webinar to talk to us about this. And so if you haven't watched that one, it'll be important that you pause this, come back to it later, go watch that first one so that you understand the context. And then we'll have these recordings on our community website. You just got to go to past recordings and you should be able to find the first one that we did and then this one. And as you'll see in the chat, Lindsay has dropped some links to some guides that will be really helpful for you during this session. I also put them in the community post that included this webinar. So if you go back to that community post where we announced this webinar, those guides will be there as well. But you should be able to access those now, I'm hoping.
Yeah, looks like people are able to access those now. And then just to build off of that, in the previous webinar, we had built, are you guys able to see my screen?
They should be able to now.
Okay, perfect. So we had gone through building this governance data flow. This is the split filter view, but in the link that I shared on today's guide, there's a link with a link to the instruction guide. So if you ever are looking back for ACE webinars, you'll go to the Domo YouTube, you'll go to live, you can search for the webinar. This is the one that I referenced. And then right here is the link to the SharePoint file for that one, where I gave you two options for either the split filter data flow or the without split filter access if you don't have access to that feature yet. So if you haven't done that already, created this, we're building off of this output data set today. So you'll definitely want to go ahead and upload the JSON files that I shared in that last webinar and get up to speed before beginning this one. Let's see. So again, that link is here, but you can also just search Domo YouTube. Live is where you'll find the ACE webinars.
Amazing. And I also dropped a link in the chat to the first webinar from our community as well. So if you need to go back to that first webinar, feel free to jump into that link. But you don't need to see my face anymore. Lindsay's the reason why we're here today. She's got some amazing stuff to teach us. Lindsay, I first need you to explain, though, your celebrity crush. I'm curious to know why you chose who you chose.
Oh, Brad Pitt. I mean, I just have loved him forever. Great actor. I don't know.
I have to agree. Brad Pitt, he's always, if I had a male crush, Brad Pitt would be the one for sure. So
well,
I'm honest.
Everybody's got a male crush.
Everybody's got one. Let's not beat around the bush. Everybody's got one.
Awesome.
Love it. Okay, Lindsay, thank you. Take it away. We're excited to hear what you have to say.
Yeah. Okay, great. So, like I said, today we're going to be building off of what we built last time. So we just built the foundational steps by building the audit data flow. I did provide some next steps for you in the last guide where you could try and tackle an app or a workflow on your own. We'll be walking through those more in depth on today's call. So with that, we're going to start by building our app. You have three options here that I provided. I've provided instructions on how to use the new App Catalyst beta feature that was released yesterday. We'll walk through that one on today's call. I also provided instructions on Pro Code Editor. I'll touch on this one regardless a little later. If you're not comfortable with either of those options, which Pro Code Editor and App Catalyst, you do not need any experience with coding. So I'll walk you through how to leverage LLMs to help build prompts and how to tweak what was built for you. And then if you do choose the standard card analyzer route, this is fine. These are great. We just can't get as much done with card analyzer as we can with the assistance of AI. I gave you the steps below for how I built the dashboard. This is just standard views here. I don't know why that one's not loading right now, but I gave you a run through of all the fields I selected from our output data set that I just shared with you to build these visuals. You have options for filter cards where you can just filter on one content owner or object types that we flagged for audit in that data flow. So those are available in the steps in this guide below. But if you're going to follow with us along the App Catalyst route today, we're going to click this follow these instructions link here, and we will begin with App Catalyst. If any of you missed the App Catalyst release webinar that was run yesterday, definitely encourage you to go back and watch that. I do believe that I linked it somewhere within here, but the way App Catalyst, or the way you're going to access App Catalyst, if you have the new nav, you're just going to search up here under features. It's available. If you have the old nav, you may have to go to admin feature management to request access so to the new navigation, so that you are able to search for it here. So with that, I'm going to click on App Catalyst, and this is the interface that we're working with today. So we have our prompt box here. You can build from sample prompts as well that they've provided here. But for today, we're going to go. So one caveat is AI is going to always work better in Domo when you have the AI readiness built out. I did share how you can leverage ChatGPT to build this out for you in here. No worries though, if we're not going to have time to walk through that today, but what we will have time to do is copy the prompt I shared with you guys. Hopefully it works just as well as it does with the AI readiness enabled, but if not, I also shared the code from the app that's built after this so that you guys are able to just copy it. So we're going to go ahead and copy this prompt here. If I can get all the way to the bottom of it. And basically what this prompt is outlining is the end product that I'm hoping to get. I use ChatGPT to scaffold this prompt. And I also included a guide on how you can leverage ChatGPT or Claude to help build prompts for you here. So if you're interested in leveraging LLMs to scaffold your prompts, there's a whole guide for you on how to do that. Back to our main App Catalyst guide. I've copied our prompt today, and I'm just going to go ahead and click the arrow button to submit that. The chat mode currently is in planning, so it's not going to build out the app just yet. We're just chatting on what we're looking to build here today. So it comes back with some clarifying questions. Should the deep links in Domo objects open in a new browser tab or navigate within the same window? I would like them to open in a new browser window or a new browser tab. When displaying downstream impact in the Object Intelligence tab, should the app differentiate between passive dependencies versus active dependencies, or treat all downstream connections equally? I'm going to go with equally for now. And you guys may get different clarifying prompts. These are just the ones that I'm getting. So for review schedule recommendations, should the app calculate estimated monthly credit savings based on specific frequency reduction model, or should savings estimates be informational only without a prescribed formula? I want it to utilize the average monthly credits used field provided in the data set. In that data flow, we had already calculated those average monthly credits used for data flows and data sets. So that's already available there. I'm going to go ahead and hit submit. We're still in planning mode. So I don't believe it's going to, it's not going to start building out the app just yet. What it's going to do is build a plan for us to approve. And while this runs, I'm just going to check the chat here, see if there are any questions so far. Okay, looks like just request for that App Catalyst launch webinar, and definitely encourage you guys to check that out. Okay, so here's our proposed plan. I'm not going to read through the whole thing because it's pretty in depth, but just know that you guys have the ability to continue chatting here if you want to make adjustments to these recommendations. Let's see. I see that it's using all of the fields that I mentioned in my prompt, so that's great. And I'm just going to go ahead and click submit. So now it's going to take a few minutes to start building this first phase of the app. While that runs, I'd love for us to work parallel to this by creating our automation workflow that we had discussed on the last call. Bryant Cafferty, do I have to ask my CSM to enable App Catalyst in my instance? I mentioned it earlier, but it should be available to you already if you're in the new nav. Again, that new navigation bar looks like this with the left rail here. If you don't have access to that new nav, if you're an admin in your instance, you should be able to go to the admin view and under features, go to feature management. Oh, also, yes, with the old nav, it should show up in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, just right around here on your navigation bar. If you don't have access, then yes, you'll probably want to reach out to your CSM. Okay, so as I said, we're going to work in tandem to this while this runs to build our workflow. The workflow that we had discussed on our last call was one that wasn't as aggressive, but still automated quite a few things for us. I'll show you what it looks like. It's really simple. We're just going to employ an AI agent to tackle a few things for us. We're going to rename cards and pages by adding a to be deleted text in front of the card name or the card page so that whoever is looking at that card or page that finds value in it can reach out to either the owner, or if they're the owner, they can rename it so that's not deleted in the next audit. It's also tagging data sets and data flows with either schedule or review schedule for those that were flagged with review schedule in the audit, or review for deletion. So with review for deletion, those were only recommendations with the setup that I provided last week for data sets and data flows that have no downstream effects. So no alerts associated, no data set views associated, no cards associated, and no downstream data flows associated in the case of data sets. Actually, I take that back. I said no alerts associated. I actually let it flag if there were alerts associated, but our app that I'm going to share today shows you if alerts are associated before you go delete. So you have the ability to see that before making that change in your instance. So let's see. Okay, so I went through the tags, the renames of cards and pages. The third thing that this AI agent is going to do is it's going to group all of the objects that were flagged in our audit by entity owner, and then it's going to send them an email. That email looks like, let's see. Oh, sorry, let me pull up that other link and I lost it. Okay, so what that email looks like is this, and it is you've got a copy of this with the link provided for the automated instant cleanup workflow guide. Just an intro, a table with built-in links, and some details on why these objects were flagged, along with some important notes, along with a goal letting the end viewer know why this email was sent, and hopefully instilling some best practices while notifying them of these objects that were flagged. So let's get started on building our workflow. And again, if you don't have access to that workflow guide, I think maybe it can be reshared in the chat. Just let us know. But what we're going to do is we're going to, if you're in the left nav, go to the search tool and go to workflows. Now I'm going to go create a new workflow. And I chose blank workflow, not from template, and I'm going to call this instance audit v2, since I already have one open. All right, so we start out with this start tile, and I'm sure there's an ACE webinar on workflows already out there where they go more in depth on what these tiles are for. That's not why we're here today, so I'm going to kind of skip through that description, but it's important to know that when you're adding shapes, you'll need to click on the tile previous to grab the plus button. Click on that. And then for today on our workflow, we're going to select the AI agent task. So I'll just bring our guide up side by side so I can walk you through how I've walked you through on the instructions. Okay. So once we've selected the AI agent, we're going to give it a title. And this title is going to be Instance Audit Agent. And then we're going to click Build Agent. And this is where we're going to start by providing a prompt and instructions. So I think of the instructions as more of like giving your agent kind of guidance on how they should act, what their role is, and what they should be focusing on when acting on the prompt. So with that, I have shared a quick little instructions for you to copy and paste within the guide. Your Domo administrator tasked with directing the effort to clean up the content within your Domo instance. And then I've also created the prompt for you to copy and paste in the guide to paste here. One thing to note is that within the prompt, there are these deep links that include your instance name here. If you need to, I'd probably copy this prompt into Word and replace all occurrences of the brackets with your instance name here. I'm going to do Domo enablement. Because that is the instance that I'm in. If you don't know your instance name, it's right here up in the URL, right before .domo.com. So again, I'm just replacing all of those occurrences here. I recommend you guys do this in Word. I just know where they are, so it's easier for me to do it here. Okay, I think I got all of them. Great. One other recommendation I would make is adding to the prompt here. So we've got query the instance audit data set and execute the following consolidated email. So right after query the instance audit data set, we're going to add a where statement where entity owner equals yourself. So let's say, and you don't even have to put quotes. I'm just going to do where entity owner equals myself, Lindsay Gillespie. And I want to just test on, let's see, I think I might have included it in the prompt here. Okay. So I included in step 7 this addition for when you're testing this agent. So where entity owner equals Lindsay Gillespie and entity ID, I chose a couple of each object type as well as different recommended actions so that I could see how this agent behaves and if it's truly acting on everything I've asked it to act on. So again, for testing, add this clause that you can find on step 7, make it your own. You could even just do limit 1 or limit 5 if you just want it to act on the first 5 rows of your name. And then we're not going to test agent just yet. We need to add tools and knowledge for it to act on. So if we go back up to our steps, we've added our prompt. We've made it our own. The next step here is to configure the tools tab of our AI agent. We need to grab each of those tools that I've outlined here in order for that AI agent to know exactly what it's using to act on our prompt. So the first one is going to be change card title, which is in our Domo cards package. If you guys are not familiar with Code Engine, that's where all of these packages are created and saved. Let me open up a view here of that. So this is Code Engine. You can see we've got lots of different packages. The ones you guys will have immediately available to you are the Domo support created packages. And that's the majority of what I've shared here today. You do have the ability to create your own packages. This does require a little bit of coding knowledge or just at least the knowledge of how to leverage an LLM to build out these functions for you and knowing, you know, what you're trying to build. So back to this, we have our Domo cards package, which contains functions related to card objects in Domo. We're going to go ahead and select the change card title function. Then we need to add more. We're going to do change page title, which exists in the page governance package. And then you can actually you can exit here and multi-select. So I've selected that one. I'm going to go and search for our create dataset tag. I'll just search tag and it'll be in Domo datasets. And let's see. We've got query with SQL, which is also in Domo datasets package. And I've listed those packages where all of these tools live in the guide for you as well. So they should be easier to find. Query with SQL right here. And then last one in the provided packages is going to be in the notifications package. And it is send email to person. And what this one does is it looks at that entity owner, maps it to the user in Domo so that they can then retrieve the email to which to send the email to. So those are all the ones that are provided to you. We need to go and create one more. We're going to create our own custom package. And this is going to be, I'm just going to call it webinar, but you could call it, well, actually, I'll just do this. Governance supplemental functions. I'm going to do this in JavaScript, and that is the code that I've provided you guys in here is in JavaScript, so that's what you'll select. We'll create the new package by going to our step 4 and copying. I don't know why it did this, but let's see. See if that let us copy it all. Nope. Okay, so I apologize. You're going to have to copy the first section. And the second section. Okay. So when creating a code engine package, we're prompted to map our inputs and an output here. So for data flow ID, this is going to be, and I showed you here, it's going to be a number. And the tag is going to be a text. So you make sure you click those check marks so that it saves. The output here is going to be a Boolean value, and it's going to be is tagged. It doesn't matter what you name this, but it's there. Let me make sure I've grabbed everything. Okay, it's not pretty, but it all pasted there, so it should work. We're going to hit validate or rescan functions. There are no more errors showing here. So we've done what we can here. I know this function already works. I've already deployed it, so I'm not going to bother testing it. You can hit save and then test, or hit this button to test, giving a data flow ID and then the tag that you want to apply. But for the use case of today, I tested it for you guys so you can save and deploy. I'm not going to save and deploy this package since I already have one created. I'm just going to go reference the one I have created here. I'll give you guys a minute if you need to catch up on the code engine portion. Any questions? I'm just looking at the chat here now. Let's see. Okay. So my custom package that I created earlier is instance governance and the add data flow tag. All right. So now that we've added our tools, we've added our prompt, we've added our instructions, the last step is just selecting the data set that this agent is going to run off of. And that's going to be the output of the data flow that we built in the last webinar. So I have selected that here. And now I'm going to, I'm not actually, well, it doesn't hurt. I'll do test agent so that you guys can see what this looks like now. So the agent is querying the data set, finding those objects within that data set, and then starting to act on them based on the instructions. Okay, Bryant, you asked for the instructions from the previous webinar. Those can be accessed via this link. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like, okay, so it's all completed. I can see that the card titles were updated for these 2 cards. The data sets were also tagged. I guess I didn't include any data flows, but that's fine. And then 1 consolidated email was sent to my user ID. And then again, I'm not going to pull up my email here, but I did share at the top of this guide what that email looks like. So next steps would be just testing this on maybe a few other statements here. Once you're happy with the results, you guys can complete the workflow, save, and deploy. Let me go ahead and show you what that looks like. So I'm just going to save this. I'm going to add the end step here to complete the workflow. And up here on the right, I can either test run. We've already tested the agent, so I don't need to do that, but I can just go deploy it here. When deploying, I don't know what unsaved. Oh, right here, it wants me to map the result. I'm just going to hit create variable in map. And then that's kind of useless. It doesn't go anywhere, but it does require it, I guess. So let's go ahead and hit save, deploy. I got one validation issue. If it's in blue, you don't need to worry about it. I can already tell you that this issue is going to be that there's a variable that's not mapped anywhere else. And that's exactly what this is. So variable result object was created but never referenced as an input in the model. So it's just letting me know, hey, you created this variable but never used it. Did you mean to do that? You can still deploy even though it has that little informational issue flagged. So I'm just going to hit save and deploy. And from there, you can either set up triggers here, or I have a guide on how to set up those triggers and some options as far as triggers go here. We're going to pause here on the workflow though, and go check back on our app catalyst. Okay. Let's see. Let me extend this view. So based off of the plan that we let it act on, let's try. Oh, do you know what I forgot to do? I apologize, guys. I forgot to grab the instance audit data set that I needed it to run on. So I'm just going to go into the chat, click the plus sign, add the governance data set from our data flow that we created in the last webinar, and let it know here's the data set that this app, or yeah, actually we have two data sets, the governance one, and I also included in the prompt some credit usage metrics. So we're going to use the credit usage raw file that we had to connect to in order to set up our data flow. So you guys should have that already. Here's the data set. Let's see. Here are the data sets that should power this app. Please map the manifest accordingly. Okay, while that's running, I'm just going to go through and look at questions. Bryant, you had asked for part 2, you have 2 PDFs. I think that is all that's needed for part 2, right? Yes, within those 2 PDFs, there are links to other guides that you can use. Going back to the original PDF, depending on the route you're going to go, App Catalyst is the route that we went today for our app interface. Pro Code Editor is also an option. In these instructions, I guide you guys through step by step, as well as provide you the files to upload on how to get the exact app that I built here through App Catalyst. So let me go and share what that looks like with you guys. Not that one. So this is what App Catalyst built for me yesterday, based off of the prompt I provided you guys and some additional tweaks. I'm gonna go check back to see. Okay, while App Catalyst is running, I'm just gonna kind of walk you through what this App Catalyst built. So we have our instance health overview, including that credit usage trend that I mentioned earlier. We have our action queue where we have links to objects. Actually, these links link to the object intelligence tab where it tells us how many cards, data flows, pages, outputs, alerts, total views are associated with that object. This also includes some compliance flags. So in our prompt, I identified some compliance flags that I'd like to implement in this instance. So naming compliance being, it's a check for, 2 bars in the name. And I explained that in the guide as well, why I chose that, as well as the schedule compliance. That's all included in the guides. We have an overview of our most compliant owners to our least compliant content owners in here, a training matrix, kind of helping to guide based off how much content was created and what percent of that content created by that owner was flagged for audit. That is a good indication of whether, we should prioritize that individual for some compliance training in the instance, as well as some recommended coaching opportunities per individual here. It also includes a best practices and optimization page, which again, I just created this based off of the standards for this instance. These are just example ones. One that I do recommend keeping is the data flow efficiency standards if you're going to go edit that prompt to make it your own. Naming recommended patterns. This is purely based off of your instance. So I would definitely recommend going to edit that. And then also a governance playbook. So this, we can see it's a pretty good app that it built. And I only had to make 2 adjustments to get to this endpoint here. Let's go back and check. Okay, so we can see it built something really similar. So hopefully you guys have gotten to this point. If anybody could call out if their app's been built yet, that would be awesome. And then we can see, so we have the preview here. We're going to flip through. We can see that it's built out. A lot of the same stuff. Yeah, pretty much the same outline. I'm curious if I click on example card test. Okay, this is even better. It links to a hidden details page. I don't love in this app that the object intelligence is accessible here, because if I hadn't already selected an item, it's not going to show anything. But it does link us back to the action queue to select something. But in this one, it's a hidden page, which is great. So let's say we're good with this. I want to go ahead and publish. It prompts us now to either create a new app within App Studio to display our app or add to an existing app. I'd like to add to an existing app. I'm going to go to my instance governance app. And from here, I'm going to go and add it to the AI generated audit page. So what this is doing is importing our App Catalyst app to our existing App Studio app. And now I have access to bring this onto the page here. Yes, once the app is published, and that's what we're going to dive into next. We only have a little bit of time, but once it's published, it is possible to edit the app. And that's where we're going to enter Pro Code Editor in Domo. So what App Catalyst does is it creates a Pro Code Editor app, actually. So if I go home and then I go to Asset Library, this is where we're going to find all of our custom apps, whether they were App Catalyst produced or manually produced by individuals using Pro Code Editor here. I included a link to the Pro Code Editor guide. I included a link for you guys to copy the exact code that this App Catalyst used. You can't edit the app using App Studio. You do need to go into the app created in the asset library. So this is the most recent one. That's how I know this is the one that we need to edit. And in the upper right-hand corner on the wrench, you're going to go to Edit Design. Now, high level, the way Pro Code Editor works is normally you would have an app.js file, an index.html file, and a manifest.json file. The manifest.json file is not one that you have to format. On resources down here, this is where you're going to select data sets that power your app, and then it automatically updates the manifest accordingly. But let's say, so we don't have an app.css file here, and one reason for that I've noticed with App Catalyst is it builds all of the CSS into the HTML. It uses Tailwind CSS, so it's all built in to the HTML here. Again, I don't want to discourage you guys from using Pro Code Editor or App Catalyst because you feel like you can't go in here and make changes. What I recommend doing is copying these files, going into, right here, I've got Claude open, and I can show you the chat history from yesterday where, I said this app is great so far, but some of the charts are way too large and they just keep extending, creating massive scroll. Do you also need the app.html and CSS files? I provided the JavaScript file. I just copy and pasted it right in there. Claude responded that it could see exactly where it needed to be fixed. I responded, it showed me a few places where I could go edit the code myself. I just responded that I wanted to provide the fully updated script, and it did. So from here, I could just copy this JavaScript right into my JavaScript file, save all, and refresh, and those changes were made. So it is super simple to leverage LLMs to edit your code here. Let's see. We only have 10 minutes left. Any questions on editing your App Catalyst app in Pro Code Editor? I know I ran through it pretty quickly. So which link was the Pro Code app instructions? On the main link for the governance app guide, there's a link here under Pro Code Editor. Within here, I give a screenshot of the app that you'll be building with the Pro Code Editor code files that I provided, along with screenshots guiding you through step by step what you're going to do here. So this is long JavaScript file that I shared, or that's HTML, long HTML, long JavaScript files here that I shared with you guys. And then also some recommendations on how to edit that JavaScript file. For instance, you will need to go and change your instance name to your instance for the links. I guide you through how to add data sets to your manifest. So yesterday I added the credit usage one after I built my initial app because I wanted that credit trend. So I walk you through step by step there with screenshots. You'll need to add your data set, give your data set an alias. One thing with the manifest is your data set name can't have spacing or special characters, and your columns can't have special cases and characters. Luckily, the columns on these data sets that we're using today don't have spaces. So all you need to do is click sync fields and bring in all of those fields there. And then Like I said, the manifest builds itself through this UI that I walk you through there. Hopefully that helps. Let's see, will all of the training documentation links be available in Domo's documentation knowledge base? Likely not in the knowledge base. I built all of these guides myself. There's no Domo branding, but I'm gonna have Grant upload all of these guides into the YouTube video description. So it'll be available there, and it should be available in the StreamYard link that was provided for today's call if you want to go back and reference. Let's see, any other questions? So just an overview, what we did today was we used App Catalyst to build out our custom app here. We walked through the workflow here, built that out. We haven't set a trigger yet. The one that I recommend in the guide is either adding it on a timer. So you could do monthly and kind of align it when you're running your audit. Or you could even add a button in your App Studio app that triggers it. This is kind of not one I would recommend. It's super powerful and useful if you're just sharing this governance app with an admin or whoever controls auditing in your guys' instance, because anybody can click this and it'll run that workflow. But you do have the capability. So you can build this two ways through app components. You can either just directly add in a workflow. I've got my instance audit workflow here. Sorry, that's not the one. Okay, I don't love this app component as much as I love the button option. This one, you just click this submit button and it's going to start the workflow. It's pretty straightforward, that app component. Again, that was the workflow app component. An alternative way would be to go into components, or actually under controls, we're going to select button. And from here, I'm just going to give it start instance audit workflow. I'm going to choose the workflow icon here. And then from there, under actions, you're going to initiate a workflow. And then you could do it with inputs or without inputs. Let's see. That's fine. Initiate with form inputs for this one works. And then we can do instance audit. And now when anybody hits this, it's going to trigger that workflow to run. Okay, we have 5 minutes left. I'd love to address any questions before we hop, or if Grant, you had anything to add. I know that was a really fast run through, but I tried to pack in as much as possible. Again, all of those guides are step-by-step with screenshots. So if I went too fast, which I'm sure I did, you guys will be able to access that and walk through this on your own.
Amazing. Lindsay, just really round of applause. That was fantastic. We really appreciate it. Yes, if anybody has questions, please drop them in the chat. But I think we had a lot of people who, learned something new and got something functional from this. So that's the purpose of all of this. We really appreciate it. Question from Sophia: if you click through these cards, does it give you a breakdown of information? Total flagged objects. When you open, does it tell you which objects?
No, but that's a great use case to go back to OpenAI and say, I love this app, but I'd like to be able to get a detailed view when I click on my instance health overview KPIs up at the top. Give the screenshot of what you're referencing and then copy and paste that JavaScript. then it's going to resend you back that JavaScript with that functionality. Right here, we see that functionality is obviously available. You can do a lot. You can click in the action queue and it brings us to this tab where it gives us detailed information on that specific object selected. But yeah, that's just another opportunity to go back and forth with AI and build out your custom solution.
Love it. Any other questions? I'm going to drop the QR code to the G2 review real quick one more time, just in case you want to grab that $25 gift card. Go ahead and scan that. But if we don't have any other questions, then I think that wraps up our webinar. Lindsay, thank you so much. We really appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you guys. And again, sorry that was a fast run through, but hopefully the guides provide you a lot of information on how to do this on your own. And there are some cool supplemental guides linked within those guides that were shared.
Fantastic. And I dropped a link in the chat for all of our past webinars. You can view them in our community. Feel free to go in there and you can see the first episodes of this one, as well as all previous webinars that we've done. We will be doing another webinar, ACE webinar, 2 weeks from today. So look out for an invitation to that one. We would love to have you all join us again soon. But until the next time, we will say sayonara. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, everybody, for being here.
Yeah, thanks, guys.